Alright, hey everybody, Phlog Nice Center. Today I'm going to be talking about Valve's emphasis on the Phlogistinator as of late. So when I recorded this video, the new update came out, kind of, sort of. I made a lot of new update videos, but one thing I did notice as I was browsing through the market when I was getting back into TF2 is that they added a strange Phlogistinator to the game. And honestly, every time Valve makes a strange weapon or now new Strangifiers, it really seems to put emphasis on the fact that maybe you guys should start using this weapon more, because now it counts kills and you can put stuff on it, and kill streaks make it more worth it. At least in my opinion, I always feel a bit hesitant about putting a kill streak on just a unique item instead of a strange or a different quality item. But yeah, so Valve's incentive to Phlog, or at least giving the players more incentive to Phlog, and I've been using it a lot outside of this video, and it's really fun for a lot of the reasons that I wasn't expecting it to be. I was expecting the Phlog to be kind of like the back burner in the sense that it's an easy mode, but really the cool things about the Phlog that I noticed is the fact that you can full heal as Pyro, and that's something I'd really never thought of before. I mean, that's what the Phlogistinator does. As you taunt with it, it gives you full health and crits back. It also used to be a lot stronger for people who are playing from a long time ago, but still, the full health thing comes into handy a lot more than I ever expected it to, because Pyro, you put yourself in some really sticky situations, considering you can do so much damage and put yourself in between areas like that where there were a lot of people, like that soldier just then. That was kind of a sticky situation, and given the opportunity, I could have used the Phlogistinator to get full health and then wouldn't have been as susceptible to his rockets. So it is a really cool weapon outside of the fact that you can just walk at people. Now obviously there are a bunch of other cool things about it. The obvious thing that a lot of people blame the Phlogistinator for is giving Pyro guaranteeable crits, which aren't that easy to get off, honestly. You would think that you just kind of spam it, but in a lot of the places where you would need crits, you're kind of already fucked anyways, because there's no way in hell that a team is going to let a Phlogistinator Pyro get his Phlog off, or get his Phlog on, if you know what I mean. My point is that the Phlogistinator isn't so much about crits, but it can be really cool if you can preempt that kind of decision making in the game. Because if you know you're about to go into a sticky situation, you can preemptively Phlog, get full health, and you probably have full ammo as Pyro if you're running over people using the M1 strats like I am. And for those of you who aren't familiar what M1 means, M1, it means mouse 1, which is the button you press when you just walk at people with your fire going on. And a lot of people blame Pyro for stuff like that because it turns Pyro into an easy mode. But as you saw just right there, I kind of tried to use my shotgun. So that's another point I want to talk about, besides just making M1... Oh, okay, sorry about that. The phone started to ring. My point is that the Phlogistinator allows you to pick secondaries a little bit more freely, unless, of course, you want to be a team player, then you have to pick the Man Melter. But for the loadout I chose, I went with the shotgun, because the shotgun is a really cool weapon. It is insanely overpowered if you know how to use it correctly, and with Pyro, that can be really devastating. Not from long distances like the flare gun would be able to, but it's still really fun to use with this kind of a loadout. Sadly, the downsides of the Phlogistinator as it goes so far is a lower damage penalty, no air blast, and air blast is really the big thing, honestly. And if you really want to count this as a downside, is the fact that your secondaries are a little bit more limited, but also opened up at the same time. So it's a really controversial downside, in my opinion, at least for the most part. Other than that, though, the Phlogistinator is a really fun weapon. I mean, it's kind of cheap, honestly. It's actually insanely cheap because you can do cool stuff where I taunt right here, and even though my health was going down, I can still run him over with the crits. And spawn camping can be a really cool thing, I guess. It's not really particularly a good thing, but still, the Phlogistinator isn't the main focus of this. You obviously still have your melee, which mine was the power jack, and you still have your shotgun or potential secondary like the flare gun that you can still use. Now, usually I don't use M1 weapons, and the only M1 weapons that I really particularly care about mentioning is the Phlogistinator, potentially, and the backburner, which is a much better weapon in my opinion. The backburner can be a lot of fun, but the Phlogistinator is by far my favorite pyro flamethrower as of right now, because I've been playing with the degreaser a lot, like pretty much since I started TF2. It was one of my first strange weapons. I've had it for the longest time. Pyro's not exactly my main class even still, but the degreaser gets kind of old, and if you're looking for something new and exciting, the strange Phlogistinator is relatively cheap, so it can be a really fun thing to do if you want to give it a shot, or if you just have a regular one, which I suppose the whole point of this is the more inventive Phlog is that it's strange, but hey, to each their own. I like stranges if I really get into a weapon. That's really one of the cool things about TF2 is that if you get sick of a playstyle, you can just kind of find a strange and mess with it. Or at least I suppose I need incentive, like, to get more kills on that certain weapon to understand how it works more. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But thankfully, a lot of the weapons I really like have pretty cheap stranges, so it doesn't really affect me all that much. One of the downsides of the Phlogistinator, though, as far as gameplay is concerned, is that you find yourself staying in pretty much the exact same places. Like you see for the latter part of this video, I stayed near their spawn a lot and don't get to explore the high tower as much. Soldiers can be a bit of a pain as Phlogistinator Pyro as well. Spies certainly aren't a trouble. As you see, I terribly wreck a lot of the spies on this team. But soldiers aren't nearly as big of a downside if you know how to use your shotgun, flare gun, detonator, reserve shooter even. Since the reserve shooter does add that extra bit of switch speed, not really much to care about, but some at least, you can do some pretty neat stuff with that, I suppose. Sadly, you don't have any of the cooler stuff, but you can see spawn camping is certainly not that much of an issue. So, I don't know. I guess it's really cool some of the stuff you can do with the Phlogistinator also. Like, vlogging. Just really fun, honestly. There's not much to the Phlogistinator. As complicated as I'd want it to be as far as the weapon goes, it's really not. And it kind of adds to the coolness factor. One of the really neat things to do with the weapon is that it's just so simple and easy to use, which I get is why a lot of people hate it. It's the same thing with the back burner, but I've seen people do some cool things with the back burner. If you really know how to place your air blast, that thing can be devastating. Not so much as the degreaser, considering the faster switch speed can be really scary if people like that know how to use it. Even still, yeah, I even get a strange rank in this episode, which is just really funny. I was playing on high tower for probably a really long time. I know I had to edit this down to like a lot of excess footage, which it obviously is at this point. Which is still fine because this gameplay ended up being really fun. I probably said it a lot this episode already, but if you haven't messed around with the Phlogistinator or you haven't played with it in a while, I'd really recommend picking it up again and seeing how you like it, because Pyro is a relatively hard class in my opinion. It's one of the best class to get good at, but it can be a bit difficult. So if you like the Phlogistinator, or if you just like Pyro but aren't really good at air blasting, so you don't use it that often, kind of like I do, since I got out of TF2 for a while. That's one of my skills that got particularly rusty when I left, was an ability to air blast. So if you guys don't have that, or really anything in particular, you could end up using the Phlogistinator and wreck people, because it's, I don't know, even though it is kind of a cheap weapon, there is still a bit of a visceral feeling being able to just run someone down with that. And it's not so much running it down, since they did nerf it a bit as far as damage is concerned, because it's not nearly as powerful as the default flamethrower. That is by far the best flamethrower in my opinion, because you can do so much with that. And I really like the idea that the Phlogistinator has limits on it like that too. It's just some people, a lot of people in the community, really don't appreciate Phlogistinator Pyros, but honestly, I love them now. Now that I've gotten a chance to use it, I can really understand and relate to Phlogistinator Pyros when they're trying to kill me. Even though it can be a bit more difficult, it also opens them up to a lot of weaknesses. Like, I play soldiers a lot of the time, so Phlogistinator Pyros, the worst they can really do to me is crits kill me. But as soldier, you can get out of the way, and there's a lot of classes you can either get out of the way, set up a sticky trap, backstab them, for example. That is actually a pretty interesting question, if you can backstab a Phlogistinator Pyro while he's taunting. I imagine you could, but I don't know how that helped dynamic works, because you do get healed while you're using the Phlogistinator. I had to do kind of a stupid thing right there. I just straight up fall off the back of the cart, which I didn't even know you could do. I thought there was a wall there this whole time. It's alright. I think we end up winning the round here. I may have cut that out, though, for link time, because though the Phlogistinator is a really cool weapon, there's not really much to say about it as far as gameplay goes, but this was a pretty good gameplay. I had a lot of fun recording it, and I had a lot of fun talking to you guys about the Phlogistinator. So, once again, if you guys would love to try it out, I would totally advocate for something like that, even though I'd probably recommend, if your team isn't already spawn camping and you can't really get to the action, you may want to try and spawn camp to get in that action, even though that's really a look down upon thing, and even I kind of look down upon it, even though there are a lot of exits in High Tower. So spawn camp as much as you want in High Tower, since they're just complaining. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.